care what you believe. I believe. I am Paul Muad'Dib Atreides, Duke of Arrakis.
What's going on, movie fans? I'm back for another review, and today we're going to be reviewing the most anticipated movie of the year. Well, second most anticipated, maybe third, Joker.
Dune's number one for me.
I would go Deadpool, Wolverine, Joker 2, and then Dune. And my friend here is a big nerd, so I wanted to bring him on to talk about this movie with us because he's read all the books. I have not.
How's it going, everybody? And like Tyler said, my name's Farhad, and thank you, Tyler, for having me on your channel.
We saw the movie last night, and I didn't understand the whole thing, but I understood a lot of it. This one was less confusing. I did enjoy it more than the first one, though. It's a complex storyline. I think it's a smart sci-fi. So if you haven't read the books, I think you can follow it, but there's definitely like rewatch in it. You're going to have to rewatch it several times to fully grasp what it's trying to tell.
Definitely a film you need to focus on for sure, 100%. You have to pay attention to basically every frame because there's a lot of subtle things that happen. Dune as a whole is pretty overwhelming for, I feel like, people who maybe have never read the books or maybe have never even seen the past 80s film or even the miniseries shows. But if you go in the film and you really focus and pay attention, you're going to pick up stuff for sure.
So initial thoughts from me, it was very entertaining. So obviously the quality of the film is top notch. I don't think anyone that worked on this film hasn't been in the business for at least 15 plus years. You had the best of the best working on it. Sound mixing, cinematography, set design, even the wardrobe and the props. It's all just A+ stuff. The best there is in the business. For an average moviegoer, you could digest this one a lot better than you can the first one. The first one is very for the fans, and they had to make several changes so people that haven't read the books could follow the storyline because it does get very confusing.
I feel like part one, if you really just pay attention and focus, you will pick it up. And I think there's a lot there for people to enjoy who have never read the books. Part two is definitely way more accessible for them, for sure. I agree.
There's more action in this one, and there's more consistency on the action. The first one had random action pieces, I felt like. Let's throw it in there and show Timmy, skipping through the sand, doing his little, side-stepping stuff.
Desert walk. It's the desert walk.
Yeah,
That's
desert walk is what they call it. Even the advertising, there was a lot of action in the first movie, the first trailer.
In my opinion, this will definitely be Warner Brothers' movie of the year for sure.
Joker 2.
It'll be number one. It'll be number one for sure.
Joker 2.
Joker 2, unfortunately, will not make the billion-dollar mark like the first one did, but I think in terms of with Dune, it will definitely be a very successful film for Warner Brothers. For the people out there who may be a little hesitant to see the film because maybe, again, you don't know anything about Dune much, please go ahead and watch the film. Watch part one, watch part two. There's a lot here you're going to enjoy for sure. Like, Denis truly crafted a visual treat, like a literal visual treat for the eyes. It was beautifully shot film. Please check out part one. Please check out part two. You are going to love the film. There's a lot here to love.
So yeah, now we're going to jump into spoilers, and my friend's going to go on these long tangents about the books because I don't know much about the story of the books. He's read all of them. He's very in tune with the story, which is why I want to bring him on this review. So we are now giving you a spoiler warning. We are jumping into spoilers. Do you have anything you want to start off with?
I'll start off first with differences. Yeah. First off, I just want to say that Denis is a fan of Dune. He's talked about this too. It's been well known for quite some time that Dune is a very hard book to adapt. There have been people who have tried, they have failed. Say what you will about David Lynch's film. I personally like that film. It is a guilty pleasure of mine. If you're basing it off of an adaptation and how good it is and how well is it adapted from the novel, Denis did a perfect job. There are changes, of course. There always will be when it comes to adaptations, but I feel like all the changes that he implemented into his films, completely well done. I have no issues with any of the changes. And I would say there's probably about huge one in part 2 that is very different from the book, and that being Alia, which is Paul's sister. So in the novel, about halfway through the first novel, we obviously find out that Lady Jessica, Paul's mother, is pregnant. And, you know, she does give birth, and because she ends up becoming the Reverend Mother for the Fremen, she drinks the water of life, which is basically
it's just the blue worm cum. No, let's drag the worm to the water.
It's not cum.
I'm gonna shove a metal prod in its mouth, and it's gonna suck the cum out of its mouth.
How would you get cum from somebody's mouth? They literally show you in the film. Yeah. It's worm bile. It's young sandworm bile that they physically extract, and it's basically an incredibly high concentrated dosage of spice, essentially is what it is, and it's the bile. Paul's mother ends up drinking this, and she basically inherits all the past memories of the former Bene Gesserit members, and because she was pregnant at the time, Paul's sister, Alia, in the womb, ends up becoming super powerful.
And then she finds out the Baron was what her uncle?
Yeah, you find out secretly that Baron Vladimir Harkonnen is actually Jessica's father.
And the Baron, if anyone doesn't know, is the fat guy that bathes in oil, the slug dude.
He's not a slug. He's not a slug.
He's a fat guy that bathes in oil, basically.
The oil has concentrated levels of spice, and the spice has many healing properties. So this is why he bathes. And in particular, he only bathes because in part 1 of the film, when he gets poisoned by Paul's father, Leto Atreides, the concentrated dosage of spice mixed with the oil essentially helps him heal from that poison.
A slug bathing in oil.
He's not a slug. He's not a slug. He's not slithering around on the ground.
He's like, I'm going to dip under this oil.
He's not a slug, you know?
Hey, Atreides, go fight Paul for me and get me my spies.
No, I mean, Stellan Skarsgård did a great job as the Baron. I thought he did a really well done job for sure.
And by the way, Paul's sister is one of my sweet angels, Anya Taylor-Joy. ATJ does have a very short cameo in this, and she will be a big part of the third one, according to my friend here. And Florence Pugh's in this, another one of my angels, dude.
Princess Irulan, the Emperor's daughter.
She didn't do a bad job.
No, she was great.
I didn't think she did a bad job at all.
She has pretty limited screen time, but to be fair, even the princess is pretty limited time in the novel anyway. I mean, she's a little bit more present in Dune Messiah, which is the second book. Florence did a great job for the small role that she had. Same with Christopher Walken as the actual Emperor himself. I mean, I personally didn't have much issues with him. You can tell his mannerisms, his style of talking kind of slips up a little bit here and there. But I personally didn't really, it wasn't an issue for me where it ruined the film.
You're definitely worried. He's going to be like, Paul, your father was a coward.
The spice.
Bring me the spice.
Yeah, I'll be honest.
You're super worried about
going into this film, he was my number one concern because I like Christopher Walken as an actor for sure. There's been films that he's really good in. That style of talking, that style of speech that he has, his mannerisms, the way he enunciates his words.
Deal. With this prophet.
But I'll be honest, even though he slips up a little bit here and there, it wasn't enough for where it ruined the film for me. I honestly thought he was fine. And again, he's not in the film very long at all. So
him and Florence Pugh didn't have very big parts, which really bummed me out. I knew ATJ was going to probably have a cameo because she was caught on the red carpet, and that's how everyone figured out she was in it. I did expect Florence Pugh to have a bigger role, but according to what I'm hearing, she's going to have a bigger part in the third film.
Don't try to impress anyone. You're brave, we all know that. Be simple. Nothing fancy.
I understand. Nothing fancy.
Back to the whole Alia thing. In the book, she is actually born, and she ages a lot quicker because of basically digesting the water of life as well. And she is actually the one that ends up killing the Baron in the novel.
The slug, if you're getting lost. The fat Baron, guy that bathes in oil.
Baron Harkonnen. So she's the one that actually ends up killing him, whereas in the film, Paul is the one that ends up killing the Baron, which in my opinion, I think that's a much better change because it makes more sense why Paul would kill the Baron. The Harkonnens basically wiped out Paul's family, right? The Atreides. So it makes sense why he would be the one to kill the Baron. So I actually liked that change. Whereas in the book, Paul's sister Alia is the one that actually kills the Baron.
I like how the Baron was trying to crawl up to the stairs to take the throne. It's like, man, you greedy piece of shit. He's like dying and he's trying to crawl up to the throne. I thought that was a nice touch to show how selfish and how much he wanted that power.
He's not even going to be able to sit on the throne because he's dying, but here he is trying to get that power. So
I got to compliment Austin Butler. What a scary character. They did a good job with him.
humiliated our family. You humiliated me. Kiss or die. Or even not.
The prosthetics on his face that they put on,
100%.
and how they did the prosthetic bald cap, and
Yep, 100%.
the makeup on his eyes, and how they gave him black teeth. And I loved the black sun.
So there's an entire sequence that introduces him, Fade, which is the character he plays. It is void of any sunlight, actually. So it's a black and white sequence, which, by the way, there's a transition from color to black and white that was so seamless. It was perfectly well done. I absolutely loved it. I nerded out hard because I'm a huge fan of filmmaking and behind the scenes stuff, and I nerded out hard with just a simple transition like that. So
Yeah. No, the transition was smooth, and I liked how they let us go into his world for a little while. And your first introduction of him is terrifying. He's looking at these blades, these really sharp knives. He actually takes one and he slits this girl's throat, and he's like, these aren't sharp enough. And then he starts stabbing a girl to death. And then the third girl is just shaking with the tray in her hand.
he is very intimidating.
Yeah, he's very scary.
I mean, for those of you out there who have seen the 80s film, I mean, comparing like Sting's performance as Fade to Austin Butler's performance as Fade is like a night and day difference. Like Austin Butler, he killed it. He is not in the film for a whole lot, but he absolutely killed the role. He was very scary, very intimidating.
Well,
I was scared of him.
He also had like a menacing voice. He wasn't over the top with it. He had like a small accent.
Yeah, thankfully he didn't sound like Elvis, because that was another concern of mine. Because I
Thank
know
you
that
very
whole,
much,
fierce the mind killer. That whole thing about his voice being changed now and that he only can talk like Elvis.
Dude, Elvis is so good though. Elvis is amazing, isn't it, guys?
For those of you out there,
Dude,
who like
Elvis is.
I apologize, but Elvis is.
Dude,
overrated.
Elvis, Tom Parker, and Tom Hanks. Elvis Presley's gonna pay what it owes to Mr. Parker.
Tom Hanks steals the show. I have no doubt there. But Elvis is overrated. For those
It's
out there
great.
who like the film, I apologize. but
Collectible
it's
trading
overrated.
cards, $1.25.
It's overrated. It's overrated. But
It's fun. It's fun. If Tom Hanks showed up in Dune 2,
I'd be all for it. Tom Hanks is my third favorite.
No,
actor.
as Tom
No,
Parker
no,
from
no.
Elvis,
That's a no-go.
this would have gotten 5 out of 5
That's
for
a
me.
no-go. I'm sorry.
Like,
that's a no-go.
if Tom Hanks showed up as Tom Parker in this, and he brought Austin Butler back to life, 5 out of 5 for me.
Yeah, no, that's a no. I love Tom Hanks. He's my third favorite actor, but as his Colonel Tom Parker character, yeah, he doesn't need to be in Dune. He can stay far away from Dune.
Maybe in the next one we'll get The Rock.
Oh, please no.
Yeah, dude, that'd be tight. The Rock smelling spice
No,
going.
we don't need The Rock. I
Dude,
really
imagine The Rock smelling spice.
No, we don't need that. We don't need The Rock. I love The Rock when it comes to wrestling.
Or maybe The Rock has got a beat. Stone Cold Steve Austin, which means I gotta get in my pickup truck, drink some Steve Weisers, listen to some Backstreet Boys.
For those of you out there who are fans of his films, I apologize, but he is a god-awful actor. He cannot act. Say what you will about Batista, but he can actually act.
Oh, speaking of Batista, dude, what a letdown. So here's one of my critiques of the movie. The fight is short between Batista and Josh Brolin's character. They have this build up, and I'm expecting not a long fight. It was anticlimactic. I was expecting something more exciting because Batista's such a big part of the first one, and he's in the second one a lot. And they actually show Josh Brolin walking up this hill. And Batista turns around real slow, and he goes, "Look who's back from the dead." And then he pulls out his whip, and then Josh Brolin just gets him right in the throat. He's done. For a guy that size, he should have been a little more mobile than that. I didn't want them to outplay the Paul Atreides. Right?
Paul Atreides.
Paul Atreides. I'm so sorry. Paul Atreides. I apologize. Paul Atreides fight. I didn't want them to overshadow that by making this fight better. But all he did was like move twice and then bam, dead. Also doesn't help because in the beginning he smashes that guy's head into that monitor.
Well,
so it's like, okay, this guy's animalistic. He's scary. And then he kind of goes out like a bitch.
To be fair though, the guy, there is a scene in the first act of the film where Beast Raban basically loses it and he smashes this guy's head against this sort of computer-like table. The thing is though, that guy doesn't know how to fight. Gurney Halleck is one of Paul's mentors. He's one of the trainers who's trained Paul in fighting techniques. And we see this in part 1. There's an entire sequence where Gurney and Paul are training together and they're fighting together. So Dave Bautista says he's basically a brute. He's an animalistic brute who's controlled by his rage. And to be fair, in the novel, the Gurney Halleck fight was not that long.
But you hear all the weird names. This is another thing. The names in these movies is just ridiculous.
To be fair, I can't defend the names.
The Baron's okay. Paul Atreides is okay, but then you got Duncan Idaho and...
Well, he wasn't... Duncan Idaho's not even in this film.
The Twirly Wister is another character
I'll
in
give
it.
you credit there with the names. It can definitely be a little hard to sort of
Really
keep
hard,
up. It can be hard to keep up with who everyone is.
And also the factions. There's like 10 factions going on at the same time.
Not in these films.
6 or 7 different families.
Not in these films.
On.
Later on, you get other families, but not in this film. I mean, you only have the Atreides, the Harkonnens, you have the Fremen, you have the Emperor's people. So it's really not that many factions, honestly, at all. So again, it can be a little hard for the casual movie audience member to sort of keep up with what's going on, because you're like, oh, you got a Duncan Idaho, now you got a Paul Atreides, and then you have the Fremen in this. So I can definitely understand why it'd be a little hard.
What if Paul Atreides were still alive?
Film starts off good too. I liked the color palette they used for the orange. I can't see someone getting bored off the bat. Like this one definitely is more engaging. You understand it a lot better. Like Paul's a more relatable person instead of having these visions that you don't understand. You're seeing more of these fleshed out. So you're like, okay, that's what he's dreaming about. That's what happens. And then when he has these visions, they end up happening. So you're actually able to keep up with the story. Because the first one was actually really confusing. Like, I didn't understand the first one very well. I definitely understood the second one a lot better.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in the first part, the audience member would be a little confused and curious, like, why is he having these visions? What is really so special about Paul? The second film, part 2 definitely dives in more to how he's like this chosen one, this prophet. He's like this messiah that's coming, the Lisan al-Gaib, as it's said in the film and in the book.
You've been fighting the Harkonnens for decades.
Look!
My family's been fighting them for centuries.
But we'll get to the ending in a minute. But the one I'm trying to understand that I can't grasp, the worms, man. We talked about this last night, and I went on about it.
No, I mean...
The worm stuff, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, oh, this is the grandfather worm. This is the big one. And then you got the baby ones. And in the film... they say that the worms are territorial and they can't both go to the bathing bath. She's like, why can't you use 2 of them at the same time? They're like, oh, they're territorial. They'll kill each other. But then in the film, they have 3 of them lined up to go into battle next to each other.
They are territorial if it's basically worm against worm. But you have an other outside threat there. It's like if Tyler and I started fighting each other and you got a guy over here that's threatening us. Him and I aren't going to be fighting anymore. We're going to be focusing on this guy because he's hitting us. So you get the 3 worms that, yes, in a normal, natural environment, they would fight. They would be territorial.
That would make sense if the Harkonnens attacked the worms, but they didn't. All that happened was Paul's people attracted the worms to their area. Because I guess these people ride worms like horses and they go, yeah! Yeah, go forward. And they actually can't see anything in front of them because of all the sand blowing in their face and stuff.
Well, the worms aren't going that fast. This isn't a worm that's going 5,000 miles
It's a big
per
desert,
hour,
but
so.
somehow they find the specific location. It makes sense to me in the end because the explosions cause the vibration. They're attracted to noise, so the vibration makes sense to me. So the worms are going to go that way. It's the other parts where they're trying to find locations where they're just kind of, we've been riding this worm that's going 50 miles an hour for hours. So
maybe 30
maybe
to 40.
it's this way, so we're going to turn this way and go to the left, and we'll try and find it that
30,
way.
40. So in the first instance where you get Paul riding the worm, that is basically a Fremen rite of passage. He doesn't need to know where he's going. All he has to do is he conquered the worm. He's able to ride it. That's a rite of passage. He doesn't need to see where he is. And you are right. It's a desert. It's not a city. This isn't New York City where there's a building every mile. The part with Rebecca Ferguson, so she is pregnant. So they were basically moving her to the south of Arrakis.
She's in a basket, dude.
Well, because she's pregnant. She's pregnant. They're not going to have her stand.
But if they were riding like one of the little Firefly helicopters or one of the ships, I'd be fine with it. But she's on a damn worm.
Yeah.
That means some of these guys had to pick this basket up and then run up the hill. And they're like, okay, the worm's coming. And then they have to fall into the pocket.
No.
And 4 guys are going to hold this basket as they
literally
fly.
There is a shot of 4 people, 4 Fremen holding the basket. You would have 2 people, maybe even 1 person that would get on the worm and command it first. Lady Jessica, so Rebecca Ferguson's character, she was traveling with many people. So it wouldn't be hard to get her on the worm. She had 4 people there. So if you have one guy...
It's fine getting her on there. I'm talking about carrying this basket. And this thing's moving. It's not like the damn worm's a bus where it stops and then it's like, okay, everyone get on. Okay, is everyone on? Going forward.
The worm isn't traveling 5,000 miles per hour. It's going
also
slow.
going 40 or 50.
Well, it's going a little
Which
slower.
means
Plus, it's
there's
sand.
movement. Have you ever tried jumping in a car when a friend's messing with you and they're going like 5 miles an hour? It's not very fast. You could jump in, but when I'm going 45, 50, you're not going to be able to just jump into the car.
It doesn't work because a car is a closed space. The worm it's literally wide open. If they're waiting on top of a ridge and somebody's controlling the worm, they just need to get him up to the top of the ridge.
Somebody's controlling an unidentified species animal that literally does not speak to them. They just control it by putting a fish hook in its little veins and pulling it.
The hooks basically causes the upper dermis, so the upper skin layer, to rise up, and the sand actually gets into that soft tissue that's exposed, and this irritates the worm. So this is how they're able to control the worm while they're riding it. So if they want to steer a worm in a specific direction, they may lift up a bit of the skin on the left side. Some of that sand gets in, it irritates the worm, it will shift to the left side. So
but instead, we're supposed to just assume that these things are friendly. Oh, these are Paul's worms.
They're not friendly. They're not
they rub the worm's tummy and give it berries to keep it in control.
The worm is dangerous even to the Fremen. There is no friendship here. They're not buddies like, oh, hey, Benjamin the worm, how you doing today? I need to go to the bus stop over there. You want to take me over there? No, it's not like that at all.
They kind of treat it like that.
It's not like that at all.
So go get some of those worms. We're going into battle. Also, a big flaw in the movie. Why aren't the other people trying to use these worms? It's just Paul's people? Why aren't they like, hey, I see these guys using these big worms. We want to use them for our benefit for the war.
Why would they? They don't live on Arrakis. They have no understanding. The only understanding they have of the worm is that harvesting spice is incredibly dangerous on Arrakis, and the worm can literally eat harvesters. It can take them up. This is why harvesting spice, it's quick. You get down on the ground, you harvest your spice, you have another flying contraption that comes in, takes the harvester, and moves on. You cannot stay in one area for too long because of the rhythmic vibration. So yes, there's a basic understanding of the sandworms that each of the families have, but they don't live on Arrakis. The Fremen live on Arrakis. They worship the sandworm. The sandworm is basically a holy creature to them.
We gave them something to hope for.
That's not hope! May thy knife chip and shatter.
Personally, my buddy here is reaching. He's reaching so hard, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
I'm reaching hard. I'm trying to find complaints, just like our buddy who's complaining about the Batman where he uses a flare.
That's true. I mean,
doesn't really understand that Batman's not going to, it doesn't look as cool with the red light. Yeah. Also, he'd rather have him just have a boring LED flashlight.
I guess so. I mean, we have a buddy that reaches pretty hard when it comes to Matt Reeves' The Batman film, so...
No, I got an idea. I want to see the penguin.
It's like
he's got a contact lens.
My buddy here doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to Dune. Our buddy there,
he's got a Batman just having Catwoman use a contact lens. Yeah. But Dune, where you're riding a worm and there's a dude that has blue eyes and they get high off of spice, that's not a problem.
No, they explain
but this contact in the Batman,
I mean,
whoa.
Personally, the Batman's a masterpiece. I absolutely love
that.
It
is. I would 100% agree.
Muad'Dib, the prophet, the one who points the way. These are our own religious patterns, aren't they? This is our doing. What if Paul Atreides were still alive?
Enough! This must not come out. Even to your father's ears, understand?
I do, Reverend Mother.
One of the last things we want to mention, because we want to wrap this up, the ending. I wasn't expecting the kind of ending there was. I love how merciless Austin Butler was, because that fight in the end was so good. And I love it when movies drop the score and you just hear the brutality of the fighting.
100% agree.
That was one of the best parts, and that fight was intense.
And the fight choreography was really on point, and I'm so thankful we don't get that nonsense where it's quick cuts. We get wider shots.
It's clean
We get action in the frame. We don't need the score playing in the background. We want to hear those animalistic noises, right? Those punches, the knives hitting one another, the shing from the blades, right?
May thy knife chip and shatter. May thy knife chip and shatter.
They probably practiced that for months. That was good. And Zendaya's pissed, and I like how we got to see that from her. They gave her a lot of screen time, and I thought she played an importance towards the end, because
definitely,
if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't realize like how far Paul had fallen.
Yeah.
She was so angry about what he did. And he had previously just told her, I will love you as long as I breathe. And then in the end, he just wants full power. And she's looking at him. This isn't what you wanted a couple days ago.
And speaking of Zendaya, if you had a complaint with the part 1 where she wasn't in the film a whole lot, she was definitely a lot more in this film in part 2. But
she had a serious importance to the ending's impact.
She did.
The impact of the ending would have not had as much weight to it had she not been in the film and had the screen time she did.
For sure.
They crafted it well. They really molded, like, Timothy went opposite direction if he was going. Like, I love you as long as I breathe. And he's like, oh, actually, you know what? I'm going to date Christopher Walken's daughter. And then I'm going to take power. You can go to hell. That was good.
Paul still loves Chani, which is Zendaya's character, 100%. And
Florence is a lot hotter.
Florence is a very beautiful
Florence.
actress. I'm a huge fan of Florence.
I'd tell Zendaya to piss right off if it was between dating her and
personally,
Florence.
I think Zendaya's cute. She's not too bad.
Anyways,
but I do agree. But Paul obviously still loves Chani. He still cares about her. And in the novel, he does tell Chani, which is Zendaya's character, that he's not going to consummate the marriage. He's not going to basically have sex with the princess, Florence Pugh's character, in order to produce heirs, so children. So he is loyal to Chani for sure. Again, they handled his progression of his character development, his arc in the film was really well done. When how he starts off at the beginning, he wants nothing to do with the prophecies, he wants nothing to do with the power, and you slowly see him evolving, and that changes a lot towards, once you get to the third act, it's completely different now. Now he wants that political power. Yeah.
And he doesn't really care whose feelings he hurts. He doesn't care about the actions he has to take to get that power either. I mean, that's why the ending is like.
Well, he also looks at it as a way that if he becomes the emperor, which essentially he does, because Fade, Austin Butler's character, is fighting on behalf of the emperor, and once Paul wins that fight, the emperor has to basically step down, and he does, and kisses Paul's ring, the Atreides house ring, which that scene was really good, really well done.
Talk about the most emasculating thing in the world. Like, get on your knees, pull up my hand, and then kiss the ring. Especially after Christopher Walken, where he had just come from. Complete power.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And then he's on his knees, dude.
It's
like,
stripped,
holy crap.
The power is gone. And
but that's what I liked, is after he had kissed the ring, Zendaya, they showed a shot of Zendaya, and she was super pissed.
She's definitely heartbroken. I mean, this is obviously a decision that Paul never even talked to her about, right? So she's heartbroken. She's feeling betrayed. I mean, Paul is still loyal to her. He's looking at this as a step in the right direction when it comes to political power, which he becomes at the end of the film emperor of the known universe because Christopher Walken steps down. He has control of basically everything. He can make sure spice harvesting on Arrakis doesn't happen anymore. The Fremen can live in peace without having to worry about other planets, other worlds coming in. So he does look at this as a way to, I can still keep Chani, so Zendaya's character, and the Fremen safe because I'm now in power. So he is still 100% very loyal to Chani, Zendaya's character, but she is heartbroken, and Zendaya, I would say, is definitely the backbone of this film, 100% for sure. I won't spoil the second book for you, for people out there who maybe want to read it, but a lot of people are going to die. There is a lot of things that are going to happen. Paul taking that power, it's going to have some consequences. It's going to have some negative effects for sure. For those of you who have read the book, you know what I'm talking about. The way that Denis ended the film is such a great power play on his part in terms of basically forcing Warner Brothers to be like, all right, the story's not over. We have one more film.
They definitely end it on a cliffhanger where you want to see where it goes from there.
It definitely feels like the second film in a trilogy, and you can tell, and I know Denis has worked on Dune Messiah, which is the second book, which would be the third film of his trilogy. The second book is much more shorter, so it would only need to be one film, possibly the same length, 240.
Yeah, you're saying that there's only going to be one more movie, too.
Yeah, one more movie. For those of you who have read the Dune books, it gets pretty bonkers, pretty out there after the second book. There's a lot of things that happen, and I can understand how you would lose a lot of viewers with that. Paul's story comes to a nice close in Dune Messiah, the second book, so there would be no need to expand beyond that.
Dune Messiah.
That's the second book.
Don't forget, these books are, what, 900 pages?
No, not necessarily. The first book is about, if I remember correctly, about 850 pages. The second
I'm sorry, I was 50 pages off.
Maybe 820.
I apologize. Or you could just watch the movies.
There are 6 core books in the core series, so you're looking at a lot more pages for that. Dune,
oh, thank you. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so.
This ain't Batman, okay? Dune is fun, and it's great in moderation.
Yeah, you should read it, buddy.
Thank you.
His reach is so hard. If he read the books, his points would be...
I've already seen the movies. It's pointless to read
them. But I do recommend the books. If you're out there and you're hesitant, check out the books for sure. I think there's a lot there you're going to enjoy.
It's like watching all the Harry Potter movies. I'm like, you should read the books after you've watched the movies.
The books are there's more detail in the books, right? I mean, the same thing happened with Lord of the Rings. There's way more
detail. The details obviously were cut out because they're not that good. So
no, that's not true. I'm a huge fan of world building. I love when writers and they expand this
drags
entire
world.
It out. No, but again, here my buddy doesn't know anything, so he's reaching. But
last thing we do want to mention is God himself.
Oh. Yeah.
We were talking about that Dune has its own rhythm. So it's obvious that I would find a woman who should know everything about rhythm and then give you the cry of a banshee.
Hans Zimmer. Before the movie came out, I had listened to the full score 2 times in its entirety.
Same here. Me too.
Kiss the Ring track and Desert Attack is a good one.
Yeah, the Harvester Attack, that's another great track.
What's that? The Time one?
Quiet Time Between Storms.
If you want to hear the score, A Quiet Time Between Storms
That is
the best track on the entire album.
I mean, one could argue that's basically essentially the love theme between Paul and Chani. That's a very prevalent theme you hear throughout the film. It's a beautiful track. Every time I heard it on screen, I got goosebumps immediately. Just thinking about it now is giving me goosebumps.
Yeah. Sir, you are the best in the business.
He truly is. He truly
I want to bow. I saw you in public. I'd literally bow to you, and I would get on one knee, and I would kiss your hand the way Christopher Walken did.
Yeah, and I would kiss his feet just like Beaster Band did to Bob.
That's too far.
He needs to be worshipped. He truly is. For those of you who don't know, he is our #1 favorite composer.
Dude, he is the absolute best in the fucking world.
He truly is. He truly is. Everything he does is literally God tier level.
Look, Blade Runner 2049. Ooh. You have that really good harpoons and the techno.
Oh yeah.
And it builds like the 2049 world. That techno really tells that world story.
Hans Zimmer truly knows how to bring every ounce of emotion out of a scene. Whether it's something fast-paced, whether it's something more somber and more relaxed, something more sad, more depressing, whatever it is, he knows how to take every ounce of emotion and just elevate it anytime his music is playing during a scene of a film.
And he has like layers of it too. Every track, sometimes he goes from really somber to intense to dramatic. I know Ludwig did a great, he's a new upcomer.
He's really good.
I like Lauren Balfe. Rest in peace, James Horner. You were really good too.
James Horner.
You know, obviously, I'm surprised John Williams is still alive.
Yeah, I'm all thankful. I'm all for it.
He's still rocking. Danny Elfman. Marco Beltrami. You don't really like him too much, but
I don't mind him. He's good. I really like Ramin Djawadi, so the composer who did Game of Thrones, Westworld. He's also really good. I actually saw him live. Amazing show.
And then what's her name? The score composer for Chernobyl and Joker.
I don't want to butcher her name. Unfortunately, I'm not really sure how to pronounce it.
She's really
good.
I
feel like as an up and comer, really good.
When it comes to females, she's like on the top of my list right now. Her scores are creepy. Chernobyl, you're scared watching the show because of her music. I would love to see her work with Hans Zimmer. Shirley Walker's also, she's a really good composer as well.
Great composer. Rest in peace.
Hans, we love you, man.
100%.
You are the best.
You are a god, literally.
I would bow in front of you. It sounds horrible and creepy.
No, it's I would do the same. I would kiss your feet, so...
I actually have a friend who works in New York and he does like restaurant stuff, and he's talked to Hans Zimmer a few times on the phone and done reservations for him. And I'm like, I would show up at the restaurant, I'd risk my job.
It'd be tough. It'd be really hard.
I wouldn't do it all the time, but there are certain names he's meant to be speaking to. Score is very good.
Yeah, really well done.
Please listen to it, support it, purchase it. Besides that, let's give our grades.
Yeah.
We both have agreed it's one of the most technical achievements of the year. No one worked on this movie unless they were in the business for 15 years.
Yeah.
It is beautiful. The cinematography, set design, all of the production stuff is the absolute best there is. Yeah. Do not watch this movie at home.
No.
Do not rent it.
No.
This is a theater movie. You've got to go back to the movie. And also with all the crap like Madam Web that's come out and stuff, this is the saving grace. People need to go see this movie.
Do not see Madam Web. That's all I'm going to say about that. I could go on in hours about that. Just do not see it. You want to go see a film in theaters right now? please go support Dune Part 2.
Yeah, we want to highly recommend it. So you're the guest. I'll let you grade the movie first. Through your first viewing, what are you going to give this movie? F being the worst movie you've ever seen. A+ being one of the best movies of all time.
So I'll be honest, I did a lot of thinking. I was literally dreaming about this film. That's how much I loved it. I personally loved every single second of Dune.
Take
Part
it easy.
2.
It's got,
I love.
just about riding worms here, dude. Jesus.
It's amazing. I loved every single second of this film. Denis truly crafted an absolute visual, not even just visual, but a technical masterpiece. We've talked about this, and to piggyback off of my buddy here, everything about the film is incredible. We could go on. Amazingly well done film.
So let's get a grade. What are you gonna grade Dune?
So again, I really have no complaints with the film. I will be giving Dune Part 2 a well-deserved A+.
A+ is like top of the list. It's as good as it gets. It's a flawless film. I still don't understand the worm stuff. It's a little confusing, but I didn't read the books. Denis is one of the best directors alive right now. Not to rant on. It is a technical achievement. I'm going to have to give it credit where it's due. And I'm going to grade Dune Part 2 an A. I'm not giving it an A+.
I mean, I'm surprised that you even gave it an A, but that's a great grade. I mean, honestly,
well, it was better than the first one. I gave the first one a B+ because it was very slow in a lot of parts.
Fair enough.
But this one was more enjoyable, more watchable.
If you're a Dune fan out there who loves the books, there are so many things to love here. You will not find any disappointment in these films whatsoever. All the changes that Denis made, I thought were handled really well, and he truly is easily one of the best directors working today. There is no doubt about it. Just look at his filmography. It speaks for itself.
Got a great villain.
Yeah.
Austin Butler was scary in this.
He was.
Huge cast, great acting, performances, set design, color palettes, everything about it is really good craftsmanship. So we're going to recommend you go see it. We saw it in the RPX. We're seeing it again on Sunday.
Yes, I cannot wait.
So we're seeing that in the 40X on Sunday.
I've never
Trying
seen
a new theater, so
I've never seen any film in a 40X environment before, so this will be a first for me, so I'm super excited for it.
And we're both huge theater supporters.
Absolutely.
So when the theaters were hurting in 2020, we were dying. We were like heroin addicts, dude.
Rough.
I was like, I haven't been to the theater in like 6 months. I've never done this in my whole life.
It was very hard. It was very rough.
We saw Tenet like 4 times because we were desperate.
We did. I mean, honestly, we probably supported Tenet the most out of anybody in this area. So.
Yeah, it's good to have an awesome blockbuster.
Oh, yeah.
Again, one quick thing, very stupid move on Todd Phillips' part, not having a Joker 2 trailer ready for Dune Part 2.
Aside from Dune Part 2, that's probably the other biggest Warner Brothers film coming out this year. I was very confused. I don't know what he was thinking with that one.
They've been working on Joker for a while, and I understand trailers are hard to make. I have a lot of respect for crafting trailers. They're very difficult. The right mood, the right music, the right tone. You're basically selling the movie. Not only did it have a $200 million budget, it's Lady Gaga, it's Joaquin Phoenix, it's Todd Phillips, it's a Warner Brothers project. Instead, we got like Godzilla versus King Kong.
We got the Kong and
the whole crowd was laughing at how bad it looked. We highly recommend it. Support the theaters, support the movie. It's worth people's money for sure.
Absolutely, it is. I know the film is getting a lot of buzz. It's getting a lot of hype right now. Go into it forming your own opinion. Don't really listen to the hype too much because you might be a little bit disappointed. I mean, the film is being compared to films like Terminator 2, The Dark Knight. Is that a bit of an overstatement? Yes. Go in there forming your own opinion. Don't listen to the hype. But when you see the film, you will definitely understand why there is a lot of hype. And please see this on the biggest screen you can find because it is incredible.
Yes, I would actually vouch heavily for that. The sound work is what's going to make this movie incredible. You're not going to have that kind of sound at home. I'm sorry. No. You could have the best Sonos speakers. Sonos is pretty much like the king.
Yeah.
And even if you have the most expensive setup, it's just not going to do the film justice. Please go see this in theaters. That is our review for Dune Part 2, guys. Thanks for watching with us. So please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like this video. It helps out with the algorithm in my channel and it really helps me grow. And I appreciate you guys watching and I enjoy the feedback that I get. I do read your guys' comments. Go check Dune Part 2 out. It's worth your money and your time. And I'm going to catch you movie fans on my next review. Thanks for watching.